And welcome, friends, to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, where we are sharing stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best. And welcome those who are listening live on KVUI The Voice or through your favorite podcast media on Facebook or on YouTube. You can catch us at Kiki's Keys or at Kiki's Keys Life. And today I am here with an amazing guest. Her name is Carrie Ann Travis Page. And not only has Carrie Ann been paving her own path as a leader, she's also continuing to find new ways to lift up others around her. Through her nonprofit organization, International Women's Empowerment Network, she provides valuable resources for women seeking assistance and mentorship in the professional world. So welcome, Carrie Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Kiki. Thank you.
So glad to have you as well. It's been such an honor to meet you and see all of the different ways that you've really been impacting other women in our community, and especially business women. You yourself are educated. You come from a great school. You're from Chicago.
Yes.
And you had your bachelor's. Remind me again what you studied?
I went to Robert Morris University and a bachelor's in business administration.
Business admin.
Yes.
Okay. And so you've been working in that business environment for quite a long time yourself.
Yes, ever since I graduated from college.
Tell us a little bit more about kind of your career history and where that's taken you.
So I was born and raised actually in Lockport, Illinois, and went to school in Chicago, Illinois. And ever since I was little, I wanted to be a businesswoman. My dad was a businessman, so he owned several different businesses. And so I knew that I wanted to go to school and have my own business. And so that's why I graduated in 3 years, actually.
That's remarkable.
Yes, 3 years, because I wanted to get done with school.
Took me 5.
Yeah, I did it in 3.
Whatever it takes, just do it, right?
Right. And ever since college, I started off as a corporate recruiter and worked my way up through the ranks, and I was a corporate recruiter, and then became assistant HR director, became a director. I've been an HR manager, and so I've been in HR pretty much my entire career, so over 15, 20 years of HR experience.
And what then motivated you to take that experience and dive into actually starting a nonprofit? I mean, that's quite an endeavor.
Oh, yes. So I wanted to, because I've been through a lot of different things. I worked in a lot of different industries: construction, nonprofit, medical. And so some of the things that I went through, I wanted to help others. So for instance, I was an assistant HR director for a nonprofit for 7 years. And a lot of the things that I had to learn, I learned on my own. Nobody was there to teach me, to help me. I had to learn things on my own. And so I've been through that. I've been through some things where I had people who would try to sabotage my work because they wanted to be the boss. And unfortunately, a lot of the jobs I worked at, I was the youngest. And so I had to oversee people that were much older than I was at the time. And so I went through a lot of different things. And so I wanted to create iWin. Basically, our mission at iWin is to uplift, educate, and empower women all around the world. Our organization seeks to create opportunities for women by guiding them to explore a new path in life while helping them discover their own nation from within. I wanted to give back to women, help them, educate them in any way I can. And so I do recruiting, coaching. I do resume writing as well, but I wanted to just be able to share with women if they had questions in HR, like how do I maneuver, or if I'm young, how do I, move into that next phase in my life in HR? How do I start as a recruiter and move up to a manager? Just kind of giving them tips. I wanted to try to help them so that they won't have to go through some of the things that I went through.
Let's talk about that, because, as someone in business, it's a ruthless environment to begin with.
Yes.
Not one that tends to be seen as a more feminine business. It tends to traditionally be ran by more men.
Yes.
So coming in as a woman, as a woman of color,
yes,
as a young person, what are some of those obstacles that you had before you didn't see your father have?
So that I didn't see my father have.
Or that were unique for you, for your experience, maybe.
So all my experiences have been unique, honestly, because again, my dad, he owned a clothing store, a tavern. So it was a little bit different than what I wanted to do.
Oh, I see.
I owned a daycare center when I was back at home for 10 years and worked in the corporate community, I should say corporate world. So our opportunities was a little bit different, but I'm glad I saw him go through some of the things that he went through because it made me stronger. And even though, being a woman as color, sometimes things may not always come easy, working with a lot of men sometimes it's a little different, but those experiences, I went through some things, even in some of my workforce where there was some discrimination. I've been through that. So my dad had a little bit different experience than I did, but I just took what I saw happen to him and some of the things that he went through, and I was like, well, I'm going to use it to my advantage to make sure that I don't have the same differences or same experiences that he had.
That makes sense.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And again, I felt like I was learning a lot on my own. Of course, I'm a woman of faith, so I always prayed and I allowed God to help me through those different situations. But I do believe all of the things that I went through was for my good, so I can help other women. And that's why I believe I Win is something that I had to birth to help others.
Awesome. How long ago and IWIN standing for International Women
Empowerment Network.
Empowerment Network. How long ago did you come up with the concept?
So 2019.
Okay.
It was birthed in 2019, but I really didn't get it off the ground until maybe really recently, honestly, because there were so many different things since I've been here in Tucson that has happened with my health. My lungs collapsed a couple of times. I was in the hospital. I lost a few family members. My dad ended up passing, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, a couple of brother-in-law. So a lot of different things happened.
It's a lot of loss.
Just a lot of life. But I knew that I had to move forward with IWIN. It was something that I was supposed to do, help other women. No matter what we go through, we got to keep pushing. We got to keep moving and do what we're called to do on this earth.
And do you think your faith is what gives you that strength to keep moving forward?
Definitely. I couldn't have done it without praying, without knowing that there's another source that was always there for me to help me, and that I didn't have to do it alone. Even though I thought all these years that I was alone, that I had to do everything alone, I had to learn everything alone. But honestly, he was right there all the time.
And, and we don't talk about faith, I think, enough in the business world,
right?
Because there is that that degree of professionalism where we want to be open to all people of all different beliefs, of all different backgrounds, that they feel comfortable doing business with you. So how do you keep your faith intact and part of your business while also being open to others that you do business with?
And thank you for saying that. I just had one guy come up to me the other day while I was working, and he said, "Hey, I just want to thank you." He said, "I want to thank you because I'm getting back to believing in God again. I want to thank you because I'm getting a relationship back with the Lord again." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was happy to hear that. I don't preach, or I don't, when I'm at work, because again, I'm in HR, so you have to watch it. It's a fine line, right?
Right. So
it's just the way I live, the way I treat people, with respect, with love, and again, showing them that I'm here for them, no matter what, right? So living that life,
it shines through.
It shines through. And
Absolutely.
I was so happy to hear him say that, because that means, okay, God is working through me.
He recognized that in you.
He recognized the God that was in me.
That's really good. Yeah, I like the analogy of I can't, maybe not be the flame, but I can mirror it.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And whether you call that God or universe or Jesus, for me, that's Jesus. But I think knowing that God's spirit is in each and every one of us.
Yes.
And we have to treat each other as so.
Right.
It's a good reminder even in the business world.
It is. And again, like I said, I've been in HR, and it's like you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. Those are two things that you don't really talk about. But again, it was like, just be me, just carry and be yourself. And
being
it was
your authentic self.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was there a time in your life where you struggled knowing what that was?
There's been times that I've struggled, and before I moved here to Arizona,
Tucson.
To Tucson, and again, I've been here 7 years. I struggled in the workplace because I thought that I had to separate God and my profession,
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I always had to try to, in my mind, it was like, Carrie, and you can't talk about Jesus. You gotta just be professional, and you can't put them together. And it's very interesting. I recently I just became a licensed minister, and in that I think back in my life, it's like, wow, Lord. I mean, this was already in me from day one, since the day that I was born, that you were going to call me to be a minister, right? And so it was like, I don't have to struggle anymore in my mind, that I can't separate. I mean, I don't have to separate my business and work world with God.
You can be yourself and let that shine through.
Yes. And
without having to hide it.
Yes. And I can do the work of I Win. I can do the work of where my corporate world, that's because I still work as well, right? So I can do that job. I can be at my church at Greater Faith and do the things that God has called me to do there. It's all one. It's in me.
That's incredible. And congratulations on the appointment as a minister.
Thank you.
That's incredible as well. There's nothing you can't do. Look at you
If you would have said that like maybe 7 years ago, I'd be like, I know that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
So I can do anything.
Absolutely. And part of that also has been contributing to a book. Yes.
Yes.
So we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. We come back, I want to hear a little bit more about the book and then about how people can get involved with iWin.
All right.
Right after these messages. And welcome back to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, sharing stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best. Here's sharing story with Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann Travis Page is an incredible businesswoman, educated, smart, outgoing. She has been an active member of the Society of Human Resource Management, as well as CEO and president of Carrie Ann Nicole Consulting. She's also a contributing author to the Amazon best-selling book Life After. How did that come to be?
Wow. So and I was so thankful for this project. One of the ladies in another state had called and said, hey, we want you to be part of this book. And so everybody was able to do a chapter. And so my chapter was called There's Power in a Pivot.
Power in a pivot.
Yes.
My first image, of course, is friends with the couch. Pivot? Pivot? Tell us more what pivot means to you.
So I've been through a lot of different things. Again, grew up in Illinois, right? And so many different things has happened. I was actually married for 7 years and, divorced. And so moving here, right? And so it was almost like starting over. And it was like, you need to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no wrong with starting over, just taking a turn, making a change. And there's a lot of changes that I made that if I was back at home, I wouldn't have made the same change. You know what I mean? So I had to do a pivot, start over, regroup.
Right.
And so I just pretty much talk about my life, my divorce, the career that I had when I was in Illinois, and just how God has just changed my life since being here.
I think even just being open to pivoting,
Yes.
open to changing course,
Yes.
can be really hard. I know I've heard this before. Don't keep making the same mistake just because you've made it for so long up to this point.
Oh, yes. Yes. So there's actually a quote that I like that I have in the book. It's called Change Occurs When Excuses Pivot to Execution.
Oh, wow.
That was by Brian Lilly. And I felt like coming here, saying, God, I surrender. Whatever you want to do with my life, do it. I gave up the excuses and I pivoted and I made execution.
And you were sharing with me when you first moved to Arizona, you weren't planning on coming to Tucson.
No.
But you kept having one roadblock after another for your other plans. And then when you said, God, show me the way.
Yes. Things started opening up for me. I wanted to be in Scottsdale. I was like, that was considered living my best life. I wanted to be in Scottsdale.
Little did she know, folks, how great Tucson is.
You know what? It is. And until I acknowledged that and came to grips with Tucson is a really good place for me, things started happening.
Right.
So, but I knew I was qualified. I kept applying for different jobs out that way, Phoenix, Scottsdale, and it kept being blocked. until one day I was like, okay, I got frustrated. I'm like, all right, God, whatever you want to do with me, just have your way. I surrender. Got her. Then I ended up applying for another job that was in Sells, Arizona. Got the job. After interviewing the next day, they called me, and everything has been great since then.
What are some ways you help others identify when they do need to make a change or they need to pivot? What are some signs they can look for, or what should they be listening for to tell them that?
So for me, it was I was frustrated. I was stuck. There was like
You felt stuck.
Yeah, I felt stuck, and I felt like I couldn't get out of the rut that I was in.
Mhm.
So then you know you need to make a change. Like if you're not moving to the next level, or if you're just feeling sad, you're frustrated, you're depressed, or something like that, or you just like, I don't know what else to do, that means you need to make a change.
And as one's making a change, I know a lot of times people think, well, if I'm going to change anything, I have to change everything.
I don't.
How does one stay authentic to who she is or he as they are going through the pivot?
Yeah, that's good. You don't have to change. I don't think everything. One thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's me. I'm like a perfectionist. I was a perfectionist because I'm working on it. I thought everything had to be in line. Everything had to be perfect for me to make changes.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Waiting for everything to line up.
Right. No.
Mhm.
You don't have to.
It's like waiting for you to get strong and
Mhm.
build muscles so you can go to the gym and show them off.
Right. Yeah,
It
that
doesn't
won't
work
happen.
that way.
It doesn't work that way. You start where you are.
You have to show up weak.
Show up. Show up.
Mm-hmm.
Show up first. And start there and then move forward. But have patience with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself either.
That's a good one for a lot of people. I know I've been that person that if anyone's going to give me a hard time about what I've done or where I've been, it's going to be me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Been through all of that. But I mean, if you are, like I said, frustrated and you're feeling stuck, that means you need a change. And then be open to whatever it is. Like that was me. I had to just surrender and be like, okay, have your way. What do you want to do with me? I was open. You got to be open-minded. If you don't be open-minded, then you're not. It's not going to work.
Honest, open, and willing.
Yes.
We use that in recovery talk a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How to do it.
Yes.
Honest, open, and willing. Well, that's incredible. Let's talk more a little bit about IWIN, because I know it's such a great organization. Again, that stands for International Women Empowerment Network,
Yes.
or empowering.
Empowerment.
I did say it right
Yes,
the first time.
yes.
Wow, that's okay then. We joke around here that our listeners are having a drinking game every time Kiki says a name wrong, or I got to make at least one mistake per show just to keep it interesting. But Empowerment Network. How can people get involved with IWIN?
So you can either email us, okay, which is carrieann.nicole@outlook.com. You can feel free to give us a call at 520-495-9122.
And Carrie Ann is spelled KerriAnn, Nicole, Nicole. And then how did the email end?
At outlook.com.
At outlook.com. So
And
Carrie Ann Nicole at outlook.com.
carrieann.nicole.
Nicole. Don't forget the dot, folks.
Yes.
And then give us your phone number again.
It's 520-495-9122.
And who are you looking for to be part of IWIN?
So actually, the age group that we've been dealing with have been anywhere from like 21 and up. Actually, my mother has been very involved, and she's 83. So, we don't put a limit.
Oh, my goodness. That's
We have
great.
all sorts of different people who show up. If you want help in HR, business world, becoming a leader, different things like that, you want to show up to these events that we have yearly. But we welcome everyone.
And when is your next event?
So we're going to do something probably in December.
December.
Yes. But if you actually can also go on the website at iwin.global, we'll have some updated information on there as well.
IWEN.global.
Yes.
All righty. And tell us a little bit about the events. What do they look like, and how can one be involved?
So our last event in June, we brought like 40 women from in Tucson together, and we talked about what are you carrying. So we wanted to talk about things that we're basically that we have inside of us, the things that we have inside of us that we haven't pushed out. So some of the things that we'll be having is seminars, workshops, networking events, and pretty soon we will be having where we can get away in different states and move this around and have different like spa what do you call them? Um,
Like self-care
Self-care
events.
events because it's important, right?
Hmm.
And so those are some of the things that we will be having, hopefully next year and in the future.
So it's fairly newer
Yes,
as an organization. So it
yes.
sounds like it's just like taking off like wildfire, though. Do you have like a membership, or can people sign up on your website for a newsletter?
So yes, they can go on the website and put their email in, and then they can be connected with us. There's no membership; it's free because I want some of the different events you may have a cost, but we try to keep it low because we want all women to come. We don't want people to not be able to afford to come to these events, so we try to keep them as a minimum. But definitely go on the website, put your email in there so you can stay connected with us.
Awesome. And that's iwen.global. And so you can learn more about iWin there, or you can reach out at Carrie Ann at her email, KERRIAN dot NICOLE at outlook.com. And I'm just so glad that you came and spent your time with us today. You had shared with me that it's your goal really to help people find their best selves,
Yes.
and to let that shine through. So just before we go, what does living your best life look like for you, Carrie Ann?
So for me, it's being free and doing the things that I'm love to do, that I'm called to do, and just flowing in that.
Okay.
Flowing in that.
Flowing in that.
Just being free.
Oh, that's really great. Well, thank you again. Again, this is Kiki Rogers with Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, where we're sharing stories, people who've been through their worst and now living their best. And if you want to learn more about living your best as a empowering lady, or want more individual coaching, please reach out to our guest, Carrie Ann, Nicole, and it's Travis Page is her last name. And I still have one more minute to go, so I kind of wrap up too soon at the end there, and then I realized I got a little bit more time. Carrie Ann, what are you most excited about at iWin right now that you'd like to share with others?
And first of all, we're building iWin. I mean, my
Yeah.
first event this year in Tucson, 40 women came together.
That
So
was the first
That was
one.
the first one, first
Well,
live.
that is
First
growing
live event,
fast.
yes. And so next year we're looking to double that. We're going to have, and actually that particular event the same time every year, which is in June. We're going to do that type of event every year. So we're going to look to grow it. I want 80 women next year.
Awesome. And the December event is being worked on right now. Follow her on her website for that. And until next week, folks, go be the best you can be, because no one else can do it better than you.